From taxing the public toilets and shrugging that money doesn't stink, to throwing a victory party that ran 123 days straight, to walking away from total control of the known world just to go grow cabbages. These are the most savage power moves any Roman emperor ever pulled. We just watched these same men get strangled in their baths and stabbed on bathroom breaks. But for every Caesar who died face down in the dirt, there was one who did something so ruthless, so jaw-dropping, the whole world had to stop and stare.
Finally, sir, that death video had me in a slump.
But first, none of this even exists without one man. The one who showed every emperor who came after exactly how far you could push it. Julius Caesar. By 49 BC, the Senate had had enough of Caesar and ordered him to disband his army and come home alone, or be branded an enemy of the state. Roman law was ironclad. No general could bring an army across the Rubicon, the little river marking the border of Italy. Caesar stood on the bank with one legion, knowing a single step meant civil war against all of Rome. He stepped. Alea jacta est, he said. The die is cast.
Most people overthink a group text, sir. This man gambled the entire republic.
He won. He made himself dictator for life and turned his own name, Caesar, into the word for ruler for the next 2,000 years. Every emperor on this list is named after him, but the first man to actually wear the title made the boldest opening move of all. Augustus, back when he was just young Octavian, was losing a propaganda war to Mark Antony, so he pulled something outrageous. He marched into the temple of the Vestal Virgins, seized Antony's sealed secret will, and read it out loud to the entire Senate. It revealed Antony wanted to be buried in Egypt beside Cleopatra and hand Roman territory to their children. Rome turned on him in a single afternoon.
He leaked the man's private diary to the whole city, sir. Ice cold.
3 years later, Antony and Cleopatra were dead. Octavian had seized the entire treasury of Egypt, used it to pay off all of Rome, and crowned himself its first emperor, later bragging he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. But Augustus seized power with patience and paperwork. His great-grandson had no patience at all. Years earlier, an astrologer told the Emperor Tiberius that young Caligula had no more chance of becoming emperor than of riding a horse across the Bay of Baiae. Caligula became emperor anyway, and to mock that prophecy forever, he had his men lash together a floating bridge of ships across more than 3 miles of open sea, pour sand over the top to make a road, and then rode across it on horseback, wearing the golden breastplate of Alexander the Great.
A man insulted his own horoscope and built a 3-mile bridge to win the argument, sir.
He paved the sea just to prove a dead astrologer wrong. His uncle Claudius, the one everyone underestimated, aimed his ambition at something bigger, an entire island. Everyone wrote Claudius off as a stammering, limping fool. So in 43 AD, he did what even Julius Caesar never finished. He conquered Britain. He sailed to the edge of the known world and, according to Cassius Dio, paraded war elephants across the British countryside, beasts no Briton had ever seen, terrifying 11 kings into surrendering on the spot. Then he turned around and sailed home, having spent a grand total of 16 days on the island.
He conquered a country in 16 days, sir. I've taken longer to build a bookshelf.
He named his own son Britannicus just to brag about it forever. Claudius spent his power conquering. The next emperor spent his burning his own capital to the ground. After the Great Fire of 64 AD burned 2/3 of Rome to the ground, Nero looked at the smoking ruins of the city center and saw prime real estate. He seized over 300 acres of the dead heart of Rome and built himself a private pleasure palace, the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, an artificial lake, rolling gardens, 140 rooms.
The city's still smoking, and he's measuring for curtains, sir.
And out front he raised a bronze statue of himself as the sun god, 100 feet tall. Rome literally rebuilt itself around one man's ego. Nero spent a fortune. The next emperor went hunting for one, in the strangest place imaginable. Vespasian inherited the bankrupt mess Nero left behind, so he chased revenue where nobody else would look, the public urinals. Romans collected urine to tan leather and clean wool, so Vespasian taxed it. When his own son Titus said the tax was beneath an emperor's dignity, Vespasian held up a gold coin from the first batch, put it under Titus's nose, and asked if it smelled. Titus said no. Vespasian smiled, and yet it comes from urine.
Pecunia non olet, sir. Money doesn't stink.
He turned the city's bathrooms into a national bank and walked off with a quote people still repeat 2,000 years later. His son Titus would spend that money very differently. When Titus finished the Colosseum his father had started, he didn't cut a ribbon. He opened it with 100 straight days of games. Gladiator duels, full naval battles staged in a flooded arena, and over 9,000 animals slaughtered for the roaring crowd.
100 days, sir. I'd have called in sick by day 4.
He bought the love of an entire city with the single biggest show in human history. But even that got outspent by a man who conquered a whole kingdom first. Trajan conquered Dacia, modern Romania, and hauled home a literal mountain of treasure, 165 tons of gold and 330 tons of silver. So he threw a party to match. The triumph and games that followed ran 123 days. 10,000 gladiators fought. 11,000 animals died.
A 4-month rave funded entirely by a conquered country, sir.
Trajan pushed Rome to the biggest it would ever be, and made sure every citizen got to celebrate it. The next emperor won the crowd a gentler way, by making their debts vanish. Hadrian wanted the people to love him, so he did something almost no ruler ever does. He canceled every unpaid tax debt in the empire, 900 million sesterces, 15 years of arrears, and then had every last debt record hauled into the forum and burned in a giant public bonfire, so no future emperor could ever come back and collect.
He didn't just forgive the debt, sir. He deleted the receipts.
The crowd loved it so much they raised a monument on the exact spot where the records burned. Hadrian gave money away to look generous. The next emperor gave away his own, just to survive a war. Marcus Aurelius had a brutal war on the frontier and a treasury drained dry by plague, but he refused to crush the struggling provinces with an emergency tax. So the most powerful man in the world held a yard sale. In the forum, he auctioned off the imperial treasures. Gold goblets, crystal cups, his wife's silk gold-embroidered gowns, even paintings by the great masters, and funded the war himself.
The philosopher king, selling his wife's dresses to buy swords. Respect, sir.
He paid for an entire war without taxing a single struggling citizen. His son inherited all of it, and did the exact opposite. Commodus had a simpler idea of power, make everything about him. He renamed the whole city of Rome Colonia Commodiana, the colony of Commodus. Then he renamed all 12 months of the calendar after his own names and titles. Then he marched into the Colosseum and fought as a gladiator, slaughtering animals and crippled men in front of the crowd.
He renamed every month of the year after himself, sir. January through December.
His father sold his own treasures to spare the people. Commodus renamed reality to flatter himself. One of them is still on the world's statues. The other got strangled in his bath. The next emperor made very sure that never happened to him. The Praetorian Guard had grown so out of control, they'd literally auctioned the empire to the highest bidder. So when Septimius Severus seized the throne, he ended them. He summoned the entire guard to a parade, unarmed, in ceremonial dress, expecting a fat bonus. Instead, his legions surrounded them, stripped their uniforms off on the spot, and banished every last man 100 miles from Rome on pain of death.
He invited the bullies to a party and fired all of them at once, sir.
Then he rebuilt the guard from his own loyal soldiers. The men who sold thrones never sold one again. The next emperor found a quieter way to squeeze